The Blue Ridge City Council will meet in special session at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August 12, 2025, at the Blue Ridge Community Center.
I had to jinx it.
Linda Brawley, David Apple, Wendy Mattingly, here, Rhonda Williams, Craig. Number 2,
Heavenly Father, today on this earth, thank you for allowing us to get here and this beautiful community to overcome this for our city. Thank you for Blue Ridge, thank you for the people of Blue Ridge, and thank you for all that you do.
So how?
Nation of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I honestly think it's the people. I think it's the youth. Like
Before we open up the public comment, we'd like to inform the audience that we have seen the social media posts about item 9 not about quality and variety of development. They are different parcels owned by different developers. The properties are located off of FM 1377 with County Road 502. One of the developments, the Bridgeside Ranch, where they have already commenced building the second campus. Selling. All of these will be explained when we get to items 9 through 14. Thank you. Item number 3 now is public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to address the council on any matter included on the agenda except public hearings. Comments related to the public hearings will be heard when the specific hearing begins. The public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless the speaker requires the assistance of a translator, in which case the speaker is limited to 6 minutes in accordance with the applicable law. To address the council, speakers must complete a speaker form and provide it to the city secretary prior to the start of the meeting. Each speaker shall approach the front of the council, state his or her name and street address before speaking. Speakers shall address the council with civility that is conducive to appropriate public discussion. The public cannot speak from the gallery, but only from the front of the council. From the Texas Open Meetings Act, the council is not permitted to take action on or discuss any item not listed on the agenda. The council may make a statement of fact regarding this item, make a recitation of the existing policy, or propose the item to be placed on a future agenda in accordance with council procedures. So first on our list we have Camille Sheehan.
I guess this is on. My name is Camille Shin. I live at 320 South Morrow. And I'm just here about some of the things on your agenda about trying to annex some more property into our city limits. I don't know, it didn't give a very good description where this property is, but I understand it's not close to town again. And I don't know why that we feel the need that we need to go outside 5 or 10 miles to annex somebody into our city limits. This city has struggled over this last escapade that we had. We need to know more about what you're talking about, why this just come up all of a sudden. Nothing has been mentioned about it previously until tonight. So I just would like an explanation about where this property actually is. Why do you think we have to annex it into our city limits and why? Who's going to be developing this property? We don't know, just like the last time. I don't want to see our city get in another complicated situation. So if the council could please explain to some of us why that this is necessary, or you think it's necessary. If they're in our ETJ, they're gonna stay in our ETJ. We don't need to do anything now. Maybe in a few years, maybe, but why now? We just went through one of the most grueling things ever with annexation. Thank you.
My name is Caroline Knowles, and my address is on file. And I just want to go on the record as saying I'm opposed to all efforts to annex or expand any property into the Blue Ridge ETJ until further notice. I know the planning and zoning is underway, the committee is being formed, and I just feel like any extra efforts to bring more development into the ETJ until we fully know what these people had planned, I think it's reasonable to really look into their agenda. And again, I oppose all efforts. Thank you.
My name is Debbie Marshall, and it's here in the city limits. I just want to say, as far as annexing any property, until we have a proper planning and zoning committee meeting plan, we have absolutely no idea, we have no business going 10 miles, 5 miles, 2 miles, 1 mile. Until we know where we're headed and why we're headed there, absolutely not.
Hello, my name is Marshall Spring. I live at 16822 FM 981. I'm here because I have 3 children, Mabel's 7, Stetson's 5, Stella's 2. For some reason, we are zoned for Leonard ISD. My daughter's entering 1st grade, and we're not able to get into Blue Ridge. So, moving forward, I'd like to have a 12-year career with my daughter, who's just an excellent athlete, great little girl. We just want to see what we can do about changing the zoning to be in Blue Ridge. I live across from Fisher Ranch. There's other people that we know that actually live further away. They're zoned for Blue Ridge. I know it can be a little tricky sometimes, but just would like to rectify that, and would love to be a Blue Ridge Tiger for the next 12 years, if not longer. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Gwendolyn Reynolds.
Sorry, she was writing it for me and I couldn't read it off. Hi, how are you? Gwen Reynolds, and my address is on file. And I got the agenda, and so I was looking at it, and I started seeing annexing, and I just got my antennas up. So you know me, I started researching. Took me all 10 minutes to find out about these guys, and they are not who they portray themselves as being. So this Bob Ladd guy, the tentacles of his enterprise is just amazing. And I will send this to all of you. I've already sent it to Wendy. And one of the main guys behind him is Camille Holdings. Well, Camille Holdings is also in Florida, and they have been in trouble with the state for scams and for dirty dealings. That's one thing. And then Camille Investments also their primary principal is Camille Kabab, and then their main holder is Silk Holdings, SLK Holdings LLC, out of Boca Raton, Florida. And their main guy is Salah Al-Amoudi. So here we go with what is really like a dummy corporation. And obviously they're going through this guy to get properties. When you see the tentacles of this, when you see all the addresses and the things that are under this, you're going to be amazed. So obviously, here we go again. They're trying to, in my opinion, this is a very stealth move on their part, and they're trying to trick you guys and get in under LAD. And so I am just begging you all, go into this, look at this, and look at it very clearly, because this is not who they're portraying. LAD is portraying and his wife that they own, this company. Well, they don't. And what I've sent to Wendy, if you would share that with them, I would really, really appreciate it. You'll see what I'm saying. And I only had like 10 minutes because I had a luncheon in Dallas concerning this sort of thing also. And I just rushed here, and I will find out more. But y'all, they're not being honest with you. And this has definitely got to be, research. We definitely don't want to go down this road again at all. So let's stop it before it even gets going. Okay, thanks.
Then I have Barbara Isaacs.
Hello, good evening. First off, I wanted to welcome our new city administrator. So thank you for joining us. Vance Lipsy, am I saying it correctly? So welcome. The other thing that I wanted to mention right now is I just found out today that TML, I'm sure all of you know who TML is having their annual meeting in October in Fort Worth, and registration is now open. So I think it'd be excellent if many of you or all of you can attend, because there will be lots of great information there and classes on planning and zoning, codes and ordinances and whatnot. So it's in Fort Worth. It's in October. Registration's open. It'll fill up really fast. That's the reason why I'm suggesting that each of you plan to try to be there if you can be. And so I wanted to mention that. The next thing I wanted to mention is, and I might have misread this because I was reading your agenda very quickly. There was something about a mud wastewater district that our city, and I might be getting this wrong, so wanted to tie into a private mud wastewater district or system. And if that's the case, I would caution you against that, because the city should not be beholden to a private mud district. It should be the other way around. In other words, if a private entity or mud district wants to tie into our city, then that would be great. But for us to tie into theirs, I think that would not be good, because the city needs to be beholden to the taxpayers, and we shouldn't be, using somebody else's mud wastewater plant. And then the fourth thing is, I'm going to ask that y'all wait until your city comprehensive plan is completed before you make any decisions about new developments or taking votes on new developments, so you can get the full picture of what we're looking at. Thank you.
I have Sabrina Gamble.
Hi, Sabrina at 8239 Morgan Road in Blue Ridge. I'm concerned because I don't see anything about a comprehension plan, and one really needs to be done. It hasn't been done in over 10 years. We're growing. We can't stop it. You can't stop it, but you can control it, and we can't control it. So it'd be nice for you guys to get that going so we can have an idea of where we're going, and everybody that wants to be brought in, whether it's annexed in, mud, there'll be a plan for it. That way we can slow down and grow responsible and not irresponsible. I think Planning and zoning would be great too. Both of those things. I see things like a retail coach on here, where we are not even close to anything like that. We need to get some stuff under control before we go to that. Thank you. Still on another meeting.
Apologize, I didn't sign up. But I've just scanned. My name is Ed Sanchez, and I live at 7290 Private Road, 5445. I'm retired. I'm a retired administrator for the city of Austin. I worked for the Planning and Development Department for numerous years. And Mr. Lipsey, you have a challenge coming at you. And that is to develop a zoning ordinance that will manage this growth that this young lady just mentioned. You're not going to stop it. It's coming. I've seen it in Austin, Texas. And I put a lot of years behind watching developers come in and do what they normally do. And I retired from the Austin Water Utility, and I was one of their legal persons. But it was my job to conduct criminal investigations against people who violated ordinances and regulations. So when you start talking about annexing or even adopting an ordinance that is going to allow you to enlarge your ETJ so that you can accommodate whatever development is going to happen in here, and you don't have an ordinance that is going to control where your doctor's offices go, where your gas stations go, where your grocery stores are going to be located, where are the service organizations, where are the medical offices going to go? And so you really need to develop a comprehensive plan that is going to address that. If you don't, you're going to have a hodgepodge of growth. All you need to do is look south of Houston, Texas, and you'll see the hodgepodge growth because they didn't have an ordinance for decades. So I worked for City of Austin, which kind of went overboard when it came to these things. But I want to caution you about allowing a mud to take over your wastewater facilities, and you're going to need them, and you're going to need to expand them. Well, guess who's waiting for you to just commit a violation of some ordinance? And not only that, but federal law. And you're talking about heavy fines when you cause a package plant from a mud to go belly up because somebody discharged something that killed the plant. Now you have raw waste going down a waste stream wherever they're going to discharge. So there are a lot of things, Mr. Lipsey, that you're going to have to keep in mind when you develop an ordinance that is going to control this growth. But if you think for one moment that you're going to be able to develop out here and not control it, it will get out of control before you know it. And so my advice to you from experience is to sit down and come up with a comprehensive zoning plan.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Item number 4 is consent agenda. Consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda for discussion and possible actions are considered to be routine by the city council and require little or no deliberation. There will not be a separate discussion of these items, and the consent agenda items will be enacted by one vote. If a council member expresses a desire to discuss a matter listed on the consent agenda, the item will be considered separately. A, discuss, approve, or disapprove the minutes from regular session held July the 8th, 2025, and special session held July 15th, 2025. B, public works update. C, city financial report. D, fire department report. E, animal control report. F, the new permit report. And G, write-offs for utility billing.
I don't choose which.
And get closer to your microphone. Sorry.
What
I think
number?
you might have gone off as well.
Yeah, she's right.
She's read it? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. First off, on the public works update portion, I just kind of wanted to point out a huge discrepancy on water usage and charge between commercial and residential, and what we are collecting for that. Maybe we could bring that up in our budget, but I think we need to revise our commercial rates. What did I do with it? Oh, darn it. I don't know where I put it, but, I mean, the commercial usage was almost double what residential usage was, but the collection was like, I mean, minimal compared to what residential. So I think we're really under, charging on our commercial water and sewer. We need to really look into something like that, you know, what's going on there. Okay, I found it. Yeah, we, for 50 commercial water service, the consumption was 5,754,734, and the charge was $1,992.10. For residential, which is 433 service, there was a usage of 2,365,870, and the charge was $20,418. I mean, that's half of what the consumption was for commercial, but it's like a, I don't know what the percentage is. Almost $2,000 commercial versus $20,000 for residential. And I think we're really shortchanging the city by not charging.
I didn't get into budget package today.
Yeah, I pulled some comparison cities, and I mean, the charges that other cities around here are charging for the commercial is just, it blows us out of the water. I mean, we're giving away our water is what we're doing. And then I had another question on this. It says there was convenience fees totals 4, but yet there was 0 collected. I don't understand. Are we collecting, not collecting? Yeah.
I'll have to ask Crystal, because usually convenience fee is the credit card fee, so it's gotta be more than 4. So I'll have to double check with Crystal.
Well, it says that it's charging for 4 accounts, but the charge was 0.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure why it's saying 0, so I'll have to double check.
Okay. Okay, and then I had a question on the animal control.
If everybody could use your microphones, it would help us out here.
Sorry. Not doing that.
Okay, on the animal control, I saw where they made a stop at
307 Church on 7/24, and said dogs were loose. I gave owners until 7/9/29 to get fence fixed, but I didn't see it if they went back to see if the fence was fixed. It wasn't in the report. Is that gonna be our next month's or?
Let me find it real quick. Let me find the more particular one. What address did you say?
307 North Church. Yeah. Yeah, on 7/24, it says dogs at this address were loose.
Yeah, so since that was at the end of the month, we'll get that on the next one. Because they only send these out at the end of the month, so I'll get the answer to that in August, or I can call them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it says that there's on 7/29, I patrolled Blue Ridge and spoke to Crystal at City Hall. So there's a posting for 7/29.
Okay. I will get that answer.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have. Anything else on item number 4? Then I'll entertain a motion to accept all the items. Use your microphone, please.
I make a motion, we accept the items for number 4.
A motion by Linda. Do I have a second? Any seconds? All in favor? Item number 5. Consider, discuss, and act upon a request for proposal RFP for a comprehensive plan for the city of Blue Ridge and its extraterritorial jurisdictions. And I believe we've heard tonight how several people are interested in. Okay, so, okay, I'm back.
Is it batteries?
Yeah.
Hey, Joni, switch to the other one, because that's the bad mic anyways. The handheld.
Okay.
Swap her batteries out. Change your battery. So what, no one on? I don't know.
Okay. As I said, we discussed earlier, and there's been comments made about a comprehensive plan for the city. So this would be our time that we want to request a proposal for an RFP.
So it's hers getting out. Go see what is happening with hers. Number 8. I just changed her battery. She's just giving her.
I make a motion that we send out a request for proposal for the comprehensive plan development as stated in the package.
Yes. In the trash can. It's 4. You're only turn 4 out. Jonas, give me your mic. Give me your table mic. Table. So this is what?
Okay, this one over here, that one over there. Okay. Item number 6, consider and discuss upon adding city administrator Vance Lipsy as authorized signer for all city bank accounts.
Okay, I'm gonna post this until, he is off probation. And then come back and discuss it.
Any edits?
discussion or second or?
I'm not sure that we get them.
Is his mic on?
Yes.
Oh, he's just not close to it. That's why. Pull it. His mic needs to be closer.
I think he needs to make his up forward, it's closer to him, sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, no, but I was agreeing, you know, kind of had the same thoughts. I don't think we've done quite the process
Johnny,
for
we
both
got with
Gary
Robin.
and
We're good.
a full employment. Thought we were still dealing on something like that. On that decision. So I don't think we're right now for another sign.
Okay, so Linda is asking for this, is opposing this, and so the 90-day periods, taken care of, and see how things go with that. I have a second by David. Is there any other discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a vote. I have a first, I have a second. All approved? Okay. Item number 7, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing City Administrator Van Lipsey, Interim Secretary Joni Lawrence, and Utility Clerk Crystal Childers as designated personnel responsible for bank deposits. This basically allows them to take the deposits to the bank and handle the money and the recipients, the receipts with them. So it's authorizing those 3 individuals to be able to take the money, the deposits to the bank.
Make a motion that we accept that. And accept number 7.
Okay, I have a motion by Linda. Do I have any? A second by Wendy. All in favor? None opposed. Item number 8, consider, discuss, and act upon obtaining a surety bond for staff and council designated to handle banking transactions. This will be for each individual. They'll have to fill out a form and we'll submit it to all the individuals. This would be for each individual who handles any banking transactions. They'll have to fill out the form and make sure that it passes the background information. Do we know what do you know what the fee is for that, Joni? Approximate? Yeah, you turned yours off. There you go.
This was kind of brought up last minute, so I got the form, but it is through Hilltop Securities, who we have all of our loans and stuff with, so they know our financial status. And I am going to be meeting with Nick Balash on these sometime next week to get pricing of those, but we are, as I have been informed, required to have them if we touch the money, sign the checks, or take the bank deposits.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think we need to do it, but before we just approve it, I would really want to see what the rates are. So if we could table this, okay, until we can get the exact cost of how much it's going to cost.
Joni, when you say we're required to do this, who are we required by? The state of Texas requires them.
Okay, so Wendy has a motion that we table this item until the next meeting. So we have. Okay. Have a second by David. All in favor? Okay. At this time, before we go on to item number 9, we're going to have Steve G, if he would mind coming up and speaking on behalf, so that everyone knows and understands exactly what these developments are and where they are and what moving forward we're looking for. So, thank you, Steve.
Steve G.
No,
Is this mic
no,
on?
hold on. You're not on.
It's
There you
not.
go.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Good evening, I'm Steve G. I'm one of the development partners of all the property that have been discussing. We currently already have 3 lots created out there with development agreements with the city. My address I'll get down. How about
Yes,
Just hold.
I'll do this. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, that's a little loud. Okay. Not used to hearing my own voice. So 793 Parkside Court, Island Village, Texas, 75477. You know, we started investing in property here. I guess we bought our first tracks out here 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. We went through the state and created our first mud district. It comprised almost about 900 acres. So originally we had created at the state, through the legislature, one mud district. And it was basically this area called mud 1 and 2. Mud 1. We've also got a discharge permit down here in the area that's now mud 3 at the bottom. City sewer plant is up here. Downstream. So after we had, okay, now,
No, sorry.
after we had started working with the staff in the city, we decided that we would annex all the property into the ETJ. So the city, it's into the ETJ, it's not into the city limits. So the city does have some limited control over development standards, street designs, development standards as far as that, no zoning, no lot sizes, no land uses or anything like that is part of anything that goes on in the jail. But the biggest key is it gives the city the option, not the obligation, but the option in the future, when all our bond debts are paid, when all the debt's paid for, or at any time the city decides they want to assume that debt, to be able to annex. If you don't do that now under current state law, we don't have agreement beforehand. You have to go back and get every one of the residents to agree to some 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, that the city decides that they want to annex this property. So that was the biggest key to our development agreement. And we've got mud projects in other areas. We've got them in Aubrey. We've got them in Van Alstyne. Van Alstyne does not have that option. We're going to build 1,500 lots in Van Alstyne. And that right now will never become part of the city. There's no mechanism for it. The sewer plant, when we start looking at that, it's in the drainage basin there that your upstream, your plant is at capacity and poor shape. I think everybody realizes that. We're building a plant there that will eventually serve about 15,000. It could eventually serve about 15,000 units. And we're talking to staff about making that, hey, you become just customers of the mud. We would charge you a commercial rate. You bring the sewer to us, the district would treat it and handle it that way. We're not trying to, and I can promise you, yes, we have no foreign investments. No, ma'am, I don't argue here about this, but I'll be glad to tell you this. I think some of y'all met Bob Glad, myself. We've been here for a while. We work very well with the staff and with the city in the past. But what we're here tonight is about the area that we're calling Mud 4. This tract, we just finished purchasing 2 pieces of property there. Instead of, we're just trying to bring it in and do the same thing and bring it up to date with the rest of the properties. The development agreement. We don't have to do that. But we've always been good neighbors and we thought we were headed down the path. We kind of got tied up into a very bad situation that y'all had at the beginning of the year and with some other folks who were trying to do some annexation and stuff. And we've sat back and waited. And we thought now was the time to go ahead. We've been working with city's legal team for the past 2 months to work out the rest of the development agreement. And that's what's for you tonight. But if the city doesn't want us, we'll continue on. The biggest loss there is, and I'm sure we'll talk about sewer with you in the future. We're going to continue our development. Everybody asks Steve, what are you going to develop? I have no clue. We own 1,200 acres or so out there. There is no telling what that's going to look like in the future. But the city has no control over the actual uses that, whether it's in the ETJ or in the county. You do not have control over what we develop out there. We'll go back and just develop under the county standards. But I would implore you, at worst case, let's have a development agreement that will give you the right to be able to annex in the future. And don't shut that off. Because once we start having homeowners, we have to get every one of them to consent. I've got Josh Bethke here. He could probably do a little better job if I explain the mechanisms, how all these things work.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Josh Bethke with Coates Rose, legal counsel for the MUDs. Really happy to entertain any questions as far as how the mechanisms of the MUD work. What we're asking for tonight is some petitions have been submitted to bring property into your extraterritorial jurisdiction, and then a couple of development agreements related to those properties, pursuant to which the city would grant the districts or the district the consent to annex those property into the boundaries of the districts, into the MUDs, not into the boundaries of the corporate limits of the city or anything of that nature, simply to give us consent for any property that is within the extraterritorial jurisdiction of a municipality. Prior to that property being brought into a MUD, we do have to get municipal consent. So part of the development agreements are to bring the property into your ETJ, obtain your consent to annex it into the MUD. And then, as Steve mentioned, really the big ticket for the city is kind of planning for that future potential annexation. It gives you guys the option, but not the obligation, the right, but not the obligation, rather, to annex that property if the future council sees that fit. The development agreement itself constitutes a petition for annexation into the corporate limits of the city. It runs with the land. It gets recorded in the real property records. Everyone who purchases a home within the boundaries of this property would be subject to that petition. As Steve mentioned, the alternative would be several years down the road, if the city wanted to bring that property in, they'd have to go knock on everyone's doors, ask them to execute voluntary annexation petitions. As you may know, Texas does not allow for involuntary annexation by municipalities anymore. So what it really does is it brings all of that tax base, which is completely developed out, homes built, all of that tax base could eventually come into the city and be tax revenue of the city in the future. So again, happy to entertain any questions related to those items, whether we get into them specifically one by one or as a precursor, happy to answer any questions.
What benefit do you get coming into the ETJ? Why are y'all wanting to come into the ETJ versus staying where you currently are?
From a legal perspective, no particular benefit. So I kind of leave that to Steve and their intentions for the partnering with the city.
Because we already had brought the other property into ETJ, all we were trying to do was make this tract, that four area right here, match those areas. If you don't want us in the ETJ, we don't have to come. In fact, if you don't want the rest of the property in the ETJ, we'll be invited to remove ourselves from the ETJ with the city's consent. The only advantage the city has is we have to develop to your design standards for streets. You don't have water, you don't have, so the design standards for the streets and the drainage. And we still have, if we're in the ETJ, we have to bring our plats to you for approval. But once again, there is no land use components to whether we stay in the county or we stay in the ETJ.
Any other questions? Wendy? Got notes over there.
And I'll be glad to stay and talk to anybody who wants to talk to me about this stuff. Once again, timing is everything, and I think we've kind of gotten caught up with some other bad things that happened and created a very, very bad image for MUDs and developments in the counties. And we're proud of our communities that Bob and I developed. And I think you'll see once Creekside's coming, look, it's a little further along. I mean, we're building a $2.5 million amenity center out there. We're drilling water wells. We're building a sewer plant. You know, at the time, previous staff was in a dire need, thinking they were in dire need of sewer. And, you know, we're going to have a plant there that can easily be expanded. That basin will handle a tremendous amount of sewer. Some point, North Texas has told us that they're going to build a regional plant south of us in Farmers Street. But that's going to be years and years and years. And then somebody's got to work to get it all the way up to us. They got to get to us and then get to y'all. And so it's probably not going to be in my lifetime. So.
And it's my understanding that our sewer plant's almost to capacity, correct?
We received telling them earlier, we received phone calls, when the market was a little better, we were receiving them, once a week about being able to get into the sewer plant. And, anything that's been on your side, I said, well, you gotta talk to the city. That's gonna go that way up there. Way up to us, we're gonna handle, we've got like 1,300 acres out there now that I don't know what will end up happening as far as density happens on it, but we're not anticipating allowing anybody else to do that plant other than the city. And the city, what we talked about, the district would set up a bulk rate. And we just have to pay for the cost to get to us. And then we've got to upgrade the plants. First plant out there should be online, hopefully in January. We're currently pumping and hauling to our plant in Van Alstyne.
Has there been any studies or calculations done on the water pressure that you're gonna be, I'm assuming you're in the same water aquifer that the city of Blue Ridge is?
We're within Verona's SEDs, their boundaries. We've been working with Verona. And depending on the density and whatever eventually comes out, at some point, we're all going to have to figure out a way to get into surface water. I know the city had told me that they were working with North Texas about having access into the next pipeline that comes through. I'm told that pipeline's already 100% spoken for, the one that it's not even online yet. Verona's going to be asking for that connection. Farmerville is talking about putting connection on that future pipeline. So we'll continue to drill wells that meet state guidelines as far as separation. We could drill depending on the performance. I don't know what our density will be, but I think we've got 3 or 4 elevated storage areas that are going to have to be built in the future just to handle our development and numerous amounts of wells.
So who prepared these documents?
As far as
The documents that have been presented to us tonight?
Josh did with their firm along with your city attorney.
Okay, but we don't have our city attorney here for me to ask questions on these documents. Because I was pretty concerned about that wastewater service.
Once again, that's an option for you. It's not an obligation.
Yeah, I can speak more on the specifics of what it says in the agreement as far as wastewater service. It's simply just an obligation of us to come to the table to talk to you guys about, using best efforts to try to work towards a wholesale agreement if the city wishes. The reason why that language was included in the development agreement was that was prior information to us that the city requested potentially a need for that. And as a potential solution, we put it in there that not anything binding that there has to be an agreement. It's just simply that we would come to the table to talk to you guys within 60 days of the effective date of that development agreement to talk about the possibility of the district providing wholesale service. It further also states that if we were to get to an agreement for wholesale, it would have to be something that is kind of routine and custom as far as what rates look like and other wholesale service area agreements in the area. So again, not a binding commitment for us. You're not obligated to get wholesale service from us or from our district. It's just an avenue if the city saw that as a viable solution to a potential problem.
Okay, I'm just not seeing a whole lot of benefit that we're getting by giving this away. I really wasn't crazy about that y'all can assign it without our consent. That we just have to accept whoever you assign this ownership in the district. Because it specifically states 7.2 assignment by owner to successor owners. Owner has the right without the consent of the city, but upon prior written notice to assign this agreement in whole or in part. So not crazy about that language either.
But miss, we can do all those things with or without this agreement. We are here, we're buying this property as an investment. We will be selling tracts of land out there to other developers and other builders in the future, with or without this document. So your advantage for this is to be able to act. The only carrot here for the city truthfully is this annexation deal. And if you don't want it, we don't have to give it. You don't have to do it. We don't have to do the development agreements if you don't want to do the development agreements. We can go through the state and get the mud fort created through the state, just like we did our first original flood, and proceed on with it. But in the past several years, we've worked hand in hand with the city over numerous issues. And the same thing with the school district. We've got an agreement with the school district to give them one. Probably going, depending on what we end up doing, it's going to be multiple school sites within there. So we're trying to be good neighbors. We're trying to do the right thing. If the timing's bad on it, we're going to proceed on with the creation of the fourth district. And maybe if this is something staff and the city doesn't want to do now, later we can talk about it here in the future. But I can tell you, our sewer plant is buried down here in the bottom of Elm Street, right there. Try to be this big like this. Yeah. So our sewer plant's down here. And here's the place. This is DR was building up here. Okay. Our sewer plant's down here. The sewer plant, it can serve this whole village forever. And well, that area can serve. But we built a 21-inch line up to here. I only need 12 coming this way. With it, so the city was telling us they thought that's what they really need to be able to come run to us. That's the big creek. Yeah, we want to try to run this sewer down there. You have to be the creek. So I've already spent that money for the 21 because I was hoping I was going to get it back to future as your cost when you needed it. But if you don't want to come to it, I'm going to use your cost. But we worked hand in hand with staff and everybody that determined on the 21. So I just say, if y'all don't want to work with us apparently right now, times change, I'm sure. I would implore you to at least do something in the future or to give you the right to annex this, because eventually this whole area will be Blue Ridge.
Is there a deadline that we need to have this set in stone by, or the only reason I'm asking is because we found out along with everyone else here about this on Friday. So we just haven't had a lot of time to do research, kind of figure it out and go through the process of it. So I don't know.
I'm not under a deadline.
Yeah.
We can start the procedures and go the other route. That's not saying that we won't come back and talk to you. We're down the street. We're going to be good neighbors. We're going to build something we're proud of.
Did you have something, Johnny? I thought you were looking for something. Okay.
So we started on this before, I think before the first of the year.
We started all of it in 2020.
Well, all of it 2020, but the fact of this, we bought, it was Mr. Harmon's property and of course Mr. Covey's property and Mr. Cantrell's property. Glenda helped us on some of that work there. But all the turmoil that started with the other things that went on, we stopped. We said, let's get this stuff cleared up. Once Bob and I was here for that big long meeting, we wanted to see what else was happening. And then once that kind of got cleared up, Patricia got back involved with Josh and their group. They've been working on this document. And we've just been waiting to bring it back to you. But I'll be glad to sit down with individually with all of y'all. I'll be glad to stay and answer all of y'all's questions. Probably not going to be able to make them happy, but I'll be glad to take the book.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. So in speaking of that, so now we're at number 9, after listening to Mr. Consider an act upon adoption of an ordinance number 2025-0812-001, City Council, City of Blue Ridge, Texas, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a development agreement with BR 595 Investments, LP, concerning property located in the Jonathan Dewey Survey, Abstract 251, Collin County, Texas. Have to have discussion.
Motion, we table it.
I have a motion by Wendy to table it. Do I have a second? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, have a second by Trenton. All in favor? Okay. Item number 10. Consider and act upon adoption of ordinance number 2025-0812-002 of the City Council of the City of Blue Ridge, Texas, expanding the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city to include an area contiguous to the otherwise existing extraterritorial jurisdiction, that area being approximately 51.110 plus acre tract of land legally described as Jonathan Dewitt Survey, abstract number 251, Collin County, Texas, and extending the extraterritorial jurisdiction limits of the city so it can include the described property owned by VR 595 Investments. I would assume we'll be tabling this one as well. Motion we table. Do I have a second? Trent, okay. Item as well. Consider and act upon adoption of a resolution number 2025-0812-001 of the City of Blue Ridge, Texas, consenting to the annexation of certain land located in the Jonathan Dewitt Survey, abstract 251, Collin County, Texas, into Blue Metal Municipal Utility District number 1 of Collin County. Okay, a motion by Wendy to table as well. That's second. Right. I'm gonna move it on the other side. I can see you. Okay. All right. Item number 12. Okay, on all three of those. I see that. All in favor? Yeah. Item 12. Consider an act upon adoption of ordinance number 2025-0812-003 of the City Council of the City of Blue Ridge, Texas, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute development agreement with Blue Ridge VR Meadows Investment LP concerning property located in the Mathis Mallory Survey, abstract number 557, Collin County, Texas.
We table items, where are we? 12, 13, and 14, until we can get more information. Maybe in the next meeting, but I'd like our attorney to be here.
Okay, so we have a motion to table items number 12, 13, and 14. Motion by Wendy. Do I have a second? Linda, second. All in favor? Okay. Okay, so now we're down to item number 15. Discuss and consider retail coach proposal. And I know we have information in our packet, and Vance was going to give us some more information regarding that, or?
Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, close to your microphone.
How about now?
There you go.
Better? Okay. So retail coach, they have multiple offices and, but the main one is in Austin and in Dallas. The president, I worked with him at the city of Hillsborough, where I was previously. And he worked with numerous communities throughout the country and especially in Texas. I know when you go retail, you think big, massive stores. That's not just the case. He works with all businesses. So, you know, for example, a bank, a gas station, you know, it doesn't have to be the Walmarts. It doesn't have to be so-and-so. So he's basically kind of the middleman for the city and EDCs and the retailers, because he has the personal connections and his company has the personal connections to reach out to those people, see if they're interested, and also does a strategic plan in a sense for kind of figuring out based on our demographics, our age, you know, you name it, you know, he looks at what is the best fit. So we might have hopes and dreams to have a HEB here, and he's gonna come in and say that's unrealistic. And here's probably what's better for you at this current time. And obviously, with this contract, the goal is to be multi-year, right? So the first year is more of a, you know, demographics and the age, figuring out the lay of land. He'll come here personally. And he goes to Retail Live conventions in his crew. Retail Live is a big convention. They do it nationally, and there's a bunch of Texas, because Texas is a big economic development. And he meets with them, these, you know, developers of these retail companies or whatever, the gas stations, and see if there's any interest for a Blue Ridge. You know, what do we need to do? And we don't have that information with a volunteer board. You know, our volunteer board can't go to these conventions. staff can't constantly go to those conventions because they're expensive. The one that's coming up in September that he said, we can agree to this, he'll do it for free basically because the contract won't start till like October. He'll reach out to kind of get a gauge interest of those companies there, and he has some thoughts and ideas. A Dollar Tree or something basic like that that can fit the needs of this current economy. And as we grow, which is going to happen, we just, like it's been mentioned, we got to prepare for it. You can work with us to help prepare us for, okay, based on this growth, here's what eventually what you'll need, and here's what you need to do to be able to get these people coming in. And so he's really beneficial, he's really smart. He presents at the EDC trainings. He's a really good guy, and he's given us a great deal compared to what I know we at Hillsborough had to pay, and other cities have to pay. Because of my big connection, I was able to get us a better deal than what would be charged. And also, as we grow and get bigger, our population, that price will increase throughout the years, right? As with anything, when you get increase in population. So that's kind of the gist of what he does. He has great connections with these people. He listens to the community. We listen to the community. We get monthly feedback at the bare minimum. So I'll be with them monthly, or Joni, or if we get a planning and zoning commission or EDC, they can come in and talk with them and share what they heard from the community. What their desires and wants are. And then he'll bring his more statistics in and says, okay, you might be saying this, but actually your statistics saying people spend more money on this in your area. And he does, phone data, he does all this stuff to kind of base all that to tell you, the median income, this is how much is spent, so you have actually untapped potential of this kind of business in your community.
I like the idea. I don't know if we're getting our cart in front of our horse without having a comprehensive plan in place so that we know where to put these.
Well, and it's not brand new buildings too. They go into existing buildings. So there's any existing buildings like our downtown or developments happening with the A board of the UC in that section, you'll work with those too. So there's at the commercial buildings, that's built basically for commercial, we'll work to get people into those too. So it's not just brand new buildings. It's, you see something for sale, we tell him and he's like, okay, we find a guy for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's both. He does anything. And if we have more of a downtown, he has a downtown subdivision that he works with too.
Kind of like revitalize. our
Yes,
downtown.
he has that.
Okay.
So, and businesses come and go. That's just the lay of the land. Small businesses last, 5 years if they're lucky. And if they meet the 5-year mark, they're usually sustainable. But, usually goes away in 5 years. So always a churn of trying to get new businesses in instead of having big buildings. And it's already budgeted. I put it in the budget already, in the proposed budget. And we're already zero base, so it's not like I'm gonna add an extra 15,000. It's already in the budget planned for that. So if that was a worry, if we can afford that, it's in the budget, as well as the RFP. I guesstimated, the cost of that. I think the RFP will be that high. But just in case, I put it as high. So it's in the budget. It's budgeted for, and then it's just a 1-year commitment. If we decide we absolutely hate it, we don't have to renew the contract. And we'll be talking with the EDC too, so it's not just the city cost. Hopefully that they agree to kind of split the cost with us, and that's the end goal.
So it's basically a broker for our town.
Sort of like a realtor for the city, but it gives us a lot more data. And he's not going to go in and says, "Hey, Dollar General is going to come in," and we can just say no. He's going to give us options like that too, and give us on a sheet that it tells you like this will work, this doesn't work, and so on and so forth. So it's very specific and very detailed.
Demographics of our area.
Yes, I'll tell you all that, like budget, and what everyone's spending money on and stuff like that outside the city too. Like the phone data, like they're going to these places. Maybe it would be beneficial to have this here in your community.
Any questions for me? Thoughts?
What page was that listed on?
It's on. I'm not sure. It's that's
That's
the budget. So, on the line item. Let me find budget. I can tell you.
It is. I can flip this thing around. It would be under admin expense, under consulting fees, because we're consulting them. So that 21,000 right there. So that's, we spent about 5,000 so far. So, round that up to 15,000 for them. So that
What's the number, Vance?
It is 30/30 consultant fee.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So it's basically at the very end of admin expense, almost. So if you look at the budget.
So if they were gonna talk to the 4A as well, then it might be, if we had him come to 4A to discuss this as well, then it could be that the whole cost of it wouldn't necessarily come out of the city's budget, because some would come out of 4A.
Yeah, so right now it's budgeted in case 4A, 4B say absolutely not. But the goal is that they agree to it, and I don't see any issue why they wouldn't. Want to split the cost because it's just so beneficial for every, 4A for development, city, with undeveloped land for the future, right? And also our current vacant buildings that we can turn into commercial.
Makes sense. So at this session, we're looking to make a motion to go move forward with this, or?
I like the thoughts. I like the idea, especially since you said it's coming into our vacant, revitalizing
Yes.
our downtown and not just sticking buildings.
Yeah, that's what they did in Hillsborough mostly.
Because
is those
we don't
vacant
want that.
Right, absolutely. And obviously, by the time we have a comprehensive plan done, then we can figure out where our commercial and industrial, then we can say, hey, pinpoint there and try to get people interested in those lands. And obviously that development takes 3 to 5 years as anything, especially with big businesses, it doesn't take quick. So that gives us time to figure out our wastewater treatment plant, renovate that, and then if we know that's gonna be a commercial area, how much water usage we need for that stuff to get those people in. Because right now, we're not getting those big dogs, nowhere anytime soon. And we can't, handle the smaller ones, but once we get bigger and bigger, we're going to, have to figure out where that's going to be, what lines are already there. That's going to be the key. And then redeveloping our restructuring plan to renovate it.
I guess another question I have, and I don't know the answer, obviously. Individuals own the shops downtown, though. How do we bring in new businesses to these places if someone owns it and doesn't want to sell it? To bring in the business.
We've worked with them. So in Hillsborough, we just talked to those businesses that vacant buildings, know the cost, because there's some that have a high cost, but maybe an XYZ is interested in the high cost. Yes, they're from Dallas or whatever. So we just work with those individual businesses.
Now I'm talking about the individuals who own the shops downtown that.
And you talk about the owners of the property.
Right,
Yeah, so
yeah.
we reach out to them.
Don't want to sell, then we're kind of.
Right. I mean,
Sorry.
but I know there's a couple right there, he does want high dollar, but, so working with them, I think that would be the main one, try to get something in there. But, eventually, a couple of years, it'll be our city hall, 2 to 5 years, because eventually we're gonna outgrow that, and that's prime real estate for something to go there.
Yeah.
So they kind of work all the way around, and especially the development that's coming into the 4A, that vacant land right there, that they're working with the developer, and he works with those developers too. So it's not like developer, you do your own thing, I'm gonna do mine. He's gonna work hand in hand with them. Some city of Hillsborough, or if you've ever been to Hillsborough, we have the out malls. He helped, that developer get those like Chili's, Pan Express, all those interested and signed to develop there. So, he works hard, even though we're one of his many clients, he's personable and responds very quickly.
I really like the idea.
I can't hear you, your red light went off.
Batteries.
There you go.
The 4A, have they been approached with this?
No, we have our meeting
Next week.
next week.
For the 4.
Okay, I'd really like to wait and let the proposal go to them. They do have money sitting in their account that they could easily afford this. And I really think our main concern should be getting that comprehensive plan going as soon as possible. Maybe they could work hand in hand, but that's the way I feel about it.
You basically want a motion to send it over to 4A for their consideration.
I guess that's the motion.
I mean, that's what I'm just asking, so.
Yeah, that's my motion.
As far as the city goes, we'd rather go to 4A for their discussion.
Correct. Thank you.
And it's gonna be on the 4B agenda for the 18th and the 4A agenda for the 20th. So then he's gonna propose this to both boards.
All right, so I have a motion by Wendy to, for the city not to make, to do anything on our part, and we'll send it to the 4A. Your call.
Don't know what my curse is. That's the. This one is bad.
Item number 16 is budget workshop for fiscal year 2025-2026, including proposed tax rate. I think you're up.
Yeah, so what I did is, just because I started so quickly, I didn't want to change the budget tax rate. I kept it the same for this current year. Can you hear me? Am I on?
Yeah, I hear you.
Sure. No, I hear myself. So the changes I made, you can see that there's an increase in property tax revenue by 24,000. So, we're slowly, like with anything, getting increased property taxes. Obviously, if you fight those property taxes, it'll get changed. But as of right now, currently, as it states, that's what we're going to be getting. Like I said, I didn't change anything from 2024 to 2025, and 25-26 property tax rate comparison. I kept it the same when it comes to our property tax. And you can see the changes of the no new revenue and the no new revenue maintenance operations, voter approval, and our debt rate, and our obligation to our debts. And so, like I said, tax rates still remain the same. As you see, probably in previous budgets, it's a little bit different. It looks a little bit different. I kind of separated the income and expenses, admin, fire, court, you name it, had it all separated out where it's all one big blob. So hopefully it's easier for you to read, be able to know each line item. You can see the codes are a little bit different too, and that's because we already basically were paying for CIS financials. We got it like 3-4 years ago, and we never used it. And so instead of paying the 2,200 for QuickBooks, why not use software we're already using? Which meant new codes that we'll be implementing. That makes more sense. It's kind of like we got point 1, point 2, so I cleaned it up. That's why those codes are left over to do assist codes that we'll be implementing October 1st for the new budget. So the budget includes potential wage increases for staff. I just used Edie's model when it came to the yearly increases for staff. And you'll see that in your packet as well. And so the admin expenses, the general income, excuse me, will decrease. You'll see a little bit of a decrease, and that's just due to, you see that miscellaneous revenue, that was grants. And as of right now, we don't have grants in the pipeline, and we can't guess that we're going to get grants. That's not, good budgeting. So we didn't do that. And as you can see, there's an increase of property taxes. The capital improvement plans is in the capital projects and admin expenses. So that's why that is a huge number. Like I mentioned, retail coaches under consulting fees.
So, that's the full 50,000. Once we get to 4A and 4B, we have to get decreased, or, they decide, no, you guys go against it, we decrease and put somewhere else, to do a zero-based budget. So again, in admin expenses, there's going to be a decrease in wages and insurance due to separation of expenses, right? It's all not coming from the admin expense. They're coming, into streets, into, the water wastewater.
Okay, I was wondering about.
Yeah. In the past, it's all just going through the general, and it needs to be separated. So we calculated, the percentage of, there's a public works above streets and wastewater. It's like, okay, how much time do you spend on the streets? So we percentage it out and separate it that way. And same with our utility clerk, because she does do some admin stuff for us, answers the phones. That's not very utility clerk-like, so we did a percentage of her income, her wages into our admin expense for insurance and salary. So previously, in the past proposed budget, there was a zero for the fire and EMS, but then the city agreed to provide the services, so it was just now included. So based on what was the actuals for right now, that could change by September. Maybe it was more. I have to update it. As of right now, I kind of gauged it off of that, what we spend right now. So that's kind of where the proposed for the fire EMS is. Court expenses will be budgeted for this year. Court payroll will decrease because we don't have court really. So only times, we have to use the county, have to do something on that lines. The council mayor expenses to increase as well as elections. We went over budget a little bit, so I had to increase it just to be on the safe side. And then animal control services, as it, today, right, it decreased, we do get more calls, so that could change. Everything's up to change once we get more actuals in. So I dropped it from 14 to 12. And then I added the PID 1 expense. So our general expenditures, our legal fees were super high. I met with Joni and tried to figure it out. Well, it's because the PID legal fees are coming from that. That shouldn't happen. So I created a PID expense. Obviously, PID 1 is the only one that we have to pay the legal fees for, because the other PIDs have their own separate line item, have their own separate bank account. We're the only one to control PID 1's bank. So I created line items. Obviously, it's zeroed out, but basically, if they have to use our legal team, they pay for it. So it'll equal out eventually. It's just, we can't guesstimate what that's going to be in the future. So it's zero for now. And as they use legal fees, that line item will increase. Then, by next year's fiscal year, we'll have to amend the budget to have that proposed in. And so street expenses, money set aside for potential street projects such as signage and repair of streets. So if you drive through this wonderful community, you see a lot of streets don't have signs. And so I had the guys go out and calculate how many streets don't have signs to label what street it is. It is a lot less than we were expecting. So that line item might decrease a little bit more. Because we were thinking it was going to cost close to 25,000, because we were expecting like 100 signs need to be, but it was only like 40 somehow. So, that cost dropped to like 5,000, so 25,000. So that line item would be changing, but I learned that today. So I can't, reactively change the budget for council. As a reminder, expenses have been separated, and there was no street fund, so this is a brand new thing. So wages, insurances is all there for streets. When it comes to utility lines, utility fund, it used to be called revenue fund. We have revenue in general, so I'm calling anything general and utility now. Makes a little bit more sense. So utility fund, we did calculations. Water bills will increase, sewer charges will increase, and trash charges also will increase. Overall revenue will decrease. Again, it's just due to that grant section, the miscellaneous revenue. We had some grants, some miscellaneous revenues that was in there. That again, we can't guesstimate that, so that's zeroed out. So that's why it's lower than previously proposed. And so our expenses, the penalties will be decreased and expenses, and like I mentioned, wages and insurance are now part of the expenditure for the utility fund, as it wasn't before. And So overall decrease in revenues and expenses, to stay a zero-based budget like we're supposed to. And so that's kind of the general gist of the budget. If you'd like to go line item by line item and we answer any questions you may have. Yes, ma'am.
I got a question. Why are we not showing any PID income? When will that start?
So that was, so PIDs, again, they have their own bank account. It's only the PID one we really have control over, and that's not, how do you best explain that?
So
When they start building?
Well, the PIDs have their own bank account, both of them. So we've got a PID 1 and a PID 2. PID 1, for some reason, requested not to have to purchase checks. So any expense that I pay, I transfer from the PID bank account into the general bank account, and I pay out of general. So it's just a wash. So that's why there's no income in the PID, because we're not technically taking in that money. It's just, it's a go through, and everything's documented, like what invoice, what company, who we're paying that check to in the bank and in our accounting software. So we're not getting, the PID money is, we don't get it. That goes straight to P3 Works and Norton Rosen Fulbright and Messer and Hilltop. Yeah, so we actually don't, they deposit, LGI will deposit, the last deposit they put in was like $50,000, and we've already run through that because of how many legal fees they have. But it's never actual income. It shows a tax line. So
They're
they're
kind of like grants. Grants is basically a tax, right? I mean, it's not any
kind of, but it's not tax money. It's LGI's money that I'm using, but I'm not using it out of that PID account. I'm using it out of the general account. So we had to have something that showed this came from the PID to general, and that's what that line item is for. It's not for actual income. It's kind of like a holding space to show where that money came from. So there's an absolute trail.
Okay, so like on future budgets, we'll see the money go in and go out, correct? If we've got line items for this, or?
Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to LGI and be like, hey, we're gonna order some checks, so we don't have to worry about that.
This is only because of the legal fees.
Yeah.
Because we're paying the legal fees or professional fees in legal and engineering through our general account. And when it comes to audit season, we're gonna see that and we say, what the heck? And so we needed a line item just to show the expenditure for that. The revenue, income, yeah.
It's not actual income.
Yeah.
It's just a holding spot for our audit team so they can go, this money came from LGI, went into the PID 1 account, was moved from PID 1 to general under this line item and paid to general. That it's just like a
Control.
trail,
Yeah. Because auditors, if they find anything off, they're gonna write you up. And we don't want that. So if we can just, even if it's annoying, just to show the PID 1 there, we kind of have to just, so. And it's also better for you to, when you're saying, why are legal fees so high? Well, we break it up a little more. You can just say, oh, one was to pay streets or whatever the case may be.
On the fire department, I thought they got reimbursed by the county. No?
they get
You want me to,
an allocation from the county. But
county calls?
I can't remember, I think it was the last year, maybe year before. The city has always agreed to pay their insurance and their fuel costs. Because the allocation from the county is so small.
It's for the county runs only too.
Yeah, and it's for the county runs only. They don't pay for any town runs. So that's why it's been like that. And we brought this before council. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact time, but it was within the past 2 years. It was brought before council if we wanted to continue to pay those fees, and the consensus was Yes, absolutely, because they're running with 4 people, and no money. So the least that the city could do to contribute would be pay for their fuel expenses and such.
Okay, did we get a budget from them?
We do not.
I mean, how do we know? Do they fill up somewhere?
Yeah, I know exactly how much.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I know exactly how much money everything for the fire department. It goes through a whole separate line item for fuel and for insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see the actuals in the budget too, so we do get the exact amount for those.
Okay.
This is on the income for the water and also the trash, just a clarification. It shows that actual so far 344,000 plus, but the budget item for next year is 296. Is there something that happened this year that we don't expect to happen next year?
So, with the budget, you always try to remain safe. We don't want to overestimate and then,
Right.
you spend more than what you actually receive.
But then that's just the opposite on trash because you're doing 149, but it's actual is 74.
So and
So,
that's because so I asked Crystal, our utility clerk, to print off basically from, August of 2024 to July of this year, end of July, and that's what the cost gave me and how much we got in that income. So I based it off of that.
okay, so in the last year to date, it's showing we have 74,000. You're saying from August to August, it was 149?
See here.
No, this is for the trash. Water and trash are my question.
Yeah, no. So the billing is always a month in arrears. So we still have 2 months worth of bills to come in until that fiscal year is over. So it's gonna, that's why it's so low on actual, on like the trash. If I'm reading that right, because I probably am not, yeah, I am. Okay. So you've got the actual on trash, actual today is $74,306.79. And you've got a proposed budget of 149,000 because we still have 2 months worth of bills.
Right, but that's
in order to
double.
meet the fiscal year.
Right, but that's 74,000 plus 74,000. I mean, you're doubling that number for 2 months. That's what I'm questioning. It's not clicking in my head.
That one I can do.
Yeah, so you're talking about the actual today, correct?
Well, so far we've received $74,000 year to date. But our budget for next year is 149,000.
Oh, I can. Yeah.
Okay,
Because we've got, homes going up in Heritage Road still.
Okay.
And Kid One Blue Ridge Crossing should start pulling permits for building within the next 2 to 3 months.
okay.
So you anticipate.
So this is anticipating for the next.
When do we have to do a contract with a trash company? When's our contract at?
Currently.
I do not have that answer off the top of my head, but I can look it up.
That was my only questions.
Any other questions? Okay. Looks like there was a lot of cleanup. Thank you.
Yep. That's a lot of work.
I could read it. So do we need to make a motion to accept this? Or this is just a workshop for you?
Yeah, I think this is a workshop.
Yeah, this is just a workshop. So we won't officially approve the budget till, the second to last week in September. We'll have a special meeting just for the budget. We'll approve the tax rate, the budget, Um, obviously staff wages, the increases, and I guess it kind of comes from you. You're the ones who make those approvals. So that would come at the, so we'll do another workshop at the beginning of September with more actual to date, just as, as you can see. And then basically by the September 29th, let's say, I think that's the last one. We're basically at the year end. There's no more bills at that point. We might have stragglers, but that'll be because of the audit. To get that fixed, but yeah.
So between now and then, if you have other questions, you can contact Vance and he'll answer questions before. That's right. Any other discussion regarding the budget workshop? No? Okay. All right, we wouldn't need it. All right, so now we're to item number 17. Executive session. In accordance with the Texas Government Code Section 551.001, the City Council will recess an executive session closed meeting to discuss the following: consultation with city attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Board of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act regarding city administrator employment, and to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee, city administrator Vance Lipsy. So we will go into executive session at 8:33. David? Wendy? You know I got a lot. I know, I'm sure. Go for it.
I'm gonna harp on this. I want P and Z up and running. I've been hitting people to try and get more applications, so. And I want to see, hopefully we can get that amendment where we're amending it down to 5. I would like to make a suggestion that we think about having work sessions prior to our meetings for like a half hour prior to. A lot of cities do this, and it's a lot more informal. I'm sure Bancher. I mean, I looked it up. Melissa does it, McKinney, Plano, Farmersville has them. Not every time, but they do have them. And I just think that would be more beneficial for us to have more time to discuss some of these things, especially more the consent type items. Just to see.
We actually just.
Okay. Okay. So there's that. Let's see. Updating the website.
I've been working on it.
Okay. I haven't looked at it for.
I've been working on it when I have 30 seconds.
Okay, so are our new, is our information on there then?
That I just got at 5:20.
Okay, okay.
So I'll get that.
Okay, okay. I would also like to possibly discuss, taking a 1/4 sales tax going to fund roads. I know that has to be voted on. I looked at that section 327 of the tax code. So it requires, being voted on by the voters, but that would give us a road fund, which I think we desperately need, so we can fix our roads. I would just like to throw that out as something to do. Code compliance in municipal court, I really would like to, get that up and running. Second to the last, sorry about this. Pruitt Street, what is the status of that?
Status of that is it is still at LGI engineers and Brad and I advanced absolutely not starting off on it until everything is corrected and we got.
Okay, because we drove it.
Oh, yeah, no, I walked it.
And I could not believe the ditches. That was appalling.
Now, me and Brad just, when was that? Last week, 2 weeks ago, I went and walked it, and I looked, and I immediately shut off numerous emails with many different people. Asked after the status, I was planned, I was something, like, answer. So, I'm waiting for it, the LTI, because they're currently at their engineer, who's done there, it's in the WS, our engineers. They're not gonna say anything until we make sure that everything is.
Okay, because I was like, I was ready to explode.
Okay, yeah, I know, because I know all that.
And I wanted to make sure that we had not signed off on that. Okay. And I know it was brought up by one of the guests, but, I really would like to see Vance sign up for that TML. At least Vance. I mean, it's not, it gets you past all that, budget, the rate, tax rate and all that since it's in October, but I would really like, since all the laws are changing.
All right. And there is a webinar that's free. I'm not sure if that's the exact one or if she's talking about a quarterly conference. I'll check into that.
Okay.
Because there's two separate things, right?
Yeah, I really would like to see.
Yeah, and that's, part of my, training and stuff like that is to go to more conferences, at least annually. To get some more training that way. So, that is part of the contract. So then there is one coming up in October. So what, Dallas area?
Forward.
Forward. I think that's one of the biannual conferences. So we'll be signing up for that. Get signed up for it.
Okay. I'm done.
Item number 20, adjournment. Linda makes a motion, have a second. Hey, Trent, it's on my left, okay, got it. All right, so that'll be at 9:18. All right, thank you.